California, here I come, right back where I started from. Howdy, I'm Chandler O'Quinn. Welcome to Chandler's Travels. I always love that song because I did start out in California. That's where I was born many years ago. But today I'm back in California. We are at the Sacramento Expo Center, and we're going to be taking a look at the different museums and history here. And behind me are the letters that used to be outside of one of my favorite places, Disney's California Adventure, specifically the Michael Eisner version, February 2001, open to the public, made on the cheap, entire land devoted just to mission tortillas and sourdough bread and everything that warmed the cockles of a 6-year-old Chandler's heart, but was laid waste because other people enjoyed fun rides and fast cars instead. So those letters were taken away and brought here to Sacramento, among with many other treasures that we'll be taking a look at, and I hope that you'll enjoy. So, in doing research about Sacramento, I found the building that's behind me, and I think the only way to properly introduce it, in my weird mind, is to take on the personality of Bob Phillips, the former host of Texas Country Reporter. So, give me a second here. Hi, I'm Bob Phillips. Welcome to Chandler Country Reporter. Behind me is an interesting slice of pizza history. Every morning, Sherwood Johnson would open up the door to his dream. His friends called him Shakey because he had suffered nerve damage during World War II after a bout with malaria. Once he got back stateside, he decided that instead of slinging grenades, he'd sling dough. Behind me is the first location of Shakey's Pizza. So, this is the original building. April 30th, 1954, Sherwood Shakey Johnson opened Shakey's Pizza. It was a Dixieland Jazz space. He paid the Silver Dollar Band $10 plus all the pizza and beer that they could have, and that became a proposition for losing money. Then not only is this the pizza parlor that becomes the first chain franchise pizza place in America, it also had this huge impact on Sacramento because of the revival of Dixieland jazz in this area. So people who had been playing in the teens and 20s by the 50s and 60s didn't have much of a career. Shakey's got them a career again, and he had his own radio show here, and it was really a revival of Dixieland jazz in Sacramento and in Northern California in general. But then it's also the first pizza franchise in American history. A lot of the folks that I know, my cousins, my mom, the first slice of pizza they ever had came from a Shakey's. By the mid-1960s, there were over 200 locations across the country. As Bob Phillips might say, we hope that Shakey's Pizza's melted cheese might melt your heart. I just think, pizza, it's a really important part of my life. I don't really know when the first time I ever had pizza was. It was already ubiquitous by the time I was born, but it's one of my absolutely favorite foods. And for a lot of Americans, their first taste of pizza came from a Shakey's oven. Not everyone. There were certainly people in New York and in pizza cultures elsewhere, but especially in the West, the Southwest, that didn't have that same sort of immigrant culture making it. This was where it started for them. Both my mom and my cousin said that it didn't taste very good and actually didn't like pizza for a long time, but still they opened the door to much better pizza, and it kind of says something that this is no longer a Shakey's Pizza. It's a mimosa restaurant where you can get brunch. Shakey's are now just a handful of locations across Southern California and Washington State, but there's some international locations that I saw as well. I don't know, when I saw this, I was like, I have to go to see the first Shakey's Pizza, so I'm here. I'm curious, for those of you who maybe grew up in the 60s and 70s, and even elsewhere, what was your first taste of pizza? Like for me, I don't know, because it was already ubiquitous by the time I was growing up. I remember growing up in San Antonio, we had Mr. Gatti's and Double Dave's, both Texas institutions of pizza, but I'm sure those weren't my first taste of pizza. But I loved growing up at Sunset Ridge. The Hollywood Video and the Double Dave's are right next to each other. Get your pizza, rent your movie, and that was your Friday night. So part of that culture all began right here. So hope you enjoyed this little look, this interesting slice of pizza history. We'll pick back up in just a moment. So we are here on the grounds of the California State Capitol. Walking around Sacramento, it is kind of like a whole nother world over here. Even down to like stoplights look different, and definitely the landscape, the trees. We've got palm trees. I'm kind of reminded of, do you remember like the old SNL skits with Stefan? Like New York's hottest nightclub. Like California's hottest nightclub is the Sacramento State Capitol. You've got schizophrenics yelling obscenities outside. You've got unions banging drums. You've got pride parades. You've got a farmer's market. You have fat palm trees. You have tall, skinny palm trees. You have redwoods. All of that, all combined into one space that absolutely is everything that this state is, and all of its wonderful contributions to the American tapestry. And so going inside, we're going to see all the things that they have to show off and exemplify the history of California and where they make their laws and govern. So just finished a tour of California State Capitol. If you come here, highly recommend go on the guided tour. They're run by the California Parks Department. Kyle was our host, our tour guide, all sorts of wonderful facts, like the about the construction. So constructed between the late 1860s and into the 1870s, and then refurbished in the late 70s under Jerry Brown. I, being who I am, was very pleased to have gotten most of the questions right, even though I'm, while I am technically a native Californian, left the state when I was 3 years old. So asking, what is California state flower? I'm like, it's the poppy. And then going through the construction of it, the gold inlay, of course, gold being so important to California, it's everywhere. They have the governor's office that was used up until 1952 or 3, and so it's like, oh, is that where Earl Warren was? Like, yep, that's where Earl Warren was. And all the rest of the people were like, who's Earl Warren? It's like one of the most important contributions California had to U.S. history, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court through all of the Civil Rights era. And they touch on that. They have, of course, the portrait of Arnold. They have a statue to Ronald Reagan. The portraits of most of the governors, not necessarily all of them, I don't think, but the keynote ones. They have Pat Brown, who is the only person to have defeated a future president, which he did when he defeated Richard Nixon for governor of California in 1962, and then be defeated by another future president. So Ronald Reagan defeated him in 66. And then they had Jerry Brown's portrait, and they asked what's so significant about Jerry Brown's portrait. The joke is that it's the only self-portrait because it's a very interesting style. But I raised my hand. I was like, he's the only one to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, which is true. He's like, well, the tour guide's like, you got that ahead of the joke. The joke is this. But yes, the correct thing is he's the only governor to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Pretty sure he's the only governor to have made out with Linda Ronstadt. But you can't put it past Arnold. Yeah, it was a great tour, lots of insights into, he pointed out this other governor who I'll put his portrait in there and maybe do another little thing on him, of the only Hispanic governor during American statehood. It was in 1875, and grew up when this was still part of Mexico, and liked to go out into the mountains and lasso bears, and did all sorts of fun stuff, and then had a really interesting career and did everything very young, and had wonderful facial hair, goatee down to here, and then a big walrus mustache. Everyone here is very nice. I was expecting some sort of pushback when I say I'm from Texas, maybe, but no, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." And so, lots of "Hey, man, that's really cool, man," kind of stuff. That California accent is very prevalent everywhere here. Yeah, really enjoying my time here, and we will pick back up with other parts of Sacramento in just a moment. When I first started dating Maria, she took me back home to her parents, and after dinner, her father came and gave us all cigars, gave a cigar to the brothers, and then gave one to me, and I said, "Oh no, I don't know how to smoke cigars," and he said, no, go ahead, try it, you'll like it. And I've been smoking my Stogies ever since, and I know the kind of interviewer that you are always digging deeper. You're going to say, what does my wife have to think about my Stogies? And first of all, it is her father that taught me how to smoke the Stogies. So she's never going to think that her father did anything wrong. And then second of all, I'm a stud. I do whatever I want. I don't take crap from nobody. I'm ballsy. I don't have to find a hiding place to smoke my Stogies like you. That is one of my favorite quotes from the former governor. Some used to call him the Governator of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But the thing is that he did have to. He had to find a secret place, a hiding place to smoke his Stogies when he was governor of California. That was somewhere behind this fence line here. He set up a whole smoking tent so that he could get together with the other legislators and figure out how to not pass a budget for California. I'm just really happy that I could even get this close to the infamous tent of Arnold Schwarzenegger's secret smoking tent. The only other thing that I feel like I need to mention from my time here at the Capitol is the explanation of the California State Seal. So the symbol of California I always thought was the goddess Khalifa, who the state is named after. But no, it's actually Minerva. And the reason behind it being Minerva, and you'll see her everywhere in the seal, in the inlay of the Capitol, they'll have her face on top of the seal. Very much connected to the idea of Minerva, because Minerva came into the world fully formed. I believe it is one of the Titans was her father, Kronos, and then his head was split, and then Minerva came out fully formed as an adult, and that is to represent that California was never a territory. Kyle had some interesting things to say. I'm not quite sure if the history and politics completely bears out of Alta California. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does bear out that Alta California was not just what we know of as California, but also consisted of Nevada, Arizona, parts of New Mexico, and parts of Wyoming and Colorado. And that all was the District of Alta California. I know that New Mexico was its own state within Mexico, so I'm not quite sure how all that works out, but it was its own republic for 25 days and then came directly into the United States, and that's the reason why they've chosen Minerva as their symbol. I won't question them on it. Again, wonderful little trip to the Capitol, and we'll pick back up with other things here in Sacramento. So I'm here in Old Town Sacramento, sort of the museum district. Also, the state park runs the property. It's several of the old buildings from before one of the fires happened. I'll find out more. I'm here. One of the major reasons I'm on this trip is the building behind me, the Sacramento History Center. They have probably the best social media of any historical site. They've got Howard and Jared running the printing press. I think it's every day they find some new woodcut or some new printed message to crank out on their press, and a wealth of knowledge on all the things in California and Sacramento history. Anywhere I go, when I say I'm here to see museums, I say, gotta see the Railroad Museum. One of my best friends, huge into trains, it's like, you gotta go to the Railroad Museum. I have a friend who's a docent at the Railroad Museum. Strangers here in Sacramento, you gotta go to the Railroad Museum. And I will. It's right next door, I promise I will be, but this is why I wanted to come, specifically to this part, because of the excellent work that they do on their social media account. So gonna see if Howard and Jared are there, and then also they're supposed to have like an original copy of the California Declaration of Independence from November 1836. So I definitely want to check that out as well. So I'll go inside and then report back to you in a bit. So I just got done with the tour of Old Town Sacramento and going through the Sacramento History Museum. I did see Jared just out of the corner of my eye because the tour was leaving. So that's one celebrity, but then an even bigger celebrity, Mark Twain. The Mark Twain gave us the tour of Old Town Sacramento as he remembered it when he was here as a reporter for the local paper. So after going across the country in a stagecoach and making it to Carson City, he then went over the Sierra Nevadas and came here in the mid-1860s and worked on the local paper after the Calaveras frog jumping races was published, and he was already becoming a very famous person. Great tour. The guy who did it was fantastic. You know, a younger gentleman, as Mark Twain would have been in the 1860s, and balanced the first person and elements without being annoying about it. I enjoyed it. I'm a person who loves a first-person tour, meeting an old-timey figure. His shoes were even the correct shoes, which I know how painful that can be on these sorts of streets. So really, a great tour. I highly recommend that if you're coming here. I know everyone's drawn to the Railroad Museum like we have here, but the actual museum next to it is well worth it. I saw Jared, I saw Mark Twain. The declaration that I was interested in was a temporary exhibit, so it was not actually on display. But lots of other important, interesting things inside the museum. Their temporary exhibit now is about baseball and Sacramento's ties to baseball history. They have a nice little exhibit on the Gold Rush, which I assume is there permanently. I always love it anytime they recreate outdoors indoors. I'm not necessarily an outdoorsy person. I enjoy air conditioning very much. So anytime any theme park, any museum makes the outside inside, I love it, and they did that here. They recreated kind of what the areas of Coloma and the Gold Rush would have looked like, and even have, I think, an authentic hydraulic hose that they used to actually melt away mountains to find the gold that was in there. And the people, not just Mark Twain, but the other staff here, when I asked about the declaration that I couldn't find, felt a little bit like Nicholas, where's the Declaration of Independence? There's a map on the back of it. And they didn't know what I was talking about, so they had to call and figure it out. Okay, this is what you're talking about. It's not here anymore. It's in the archives of Sacramento. So, wonderful museum. I think I'll take a walk around and kind of show you some of the things that they were talking about. They didn't want any pictures or videos during the tour. I guess just propriety's sake, they want you to come and take the tour. Of course, there's flash photography things. I completely understand that. So that's why I'm not showing you any pictures. But literally, this town, I'll talk about it in a different spot, but they raised the town up because of all the flooding, because we're right on a river. I'll talk just briefly about some of those things, because I also want you to come here and take the tour because it's well worth it. You get to meet Mark Twain. Also, just to end off on this, I come here, I sit at this table to have this wonderful Union Pacific car behind me, and I figured that this was trash, that it had been drunk. This is a full Dr. Pepper. I looked at, Eureka! Gold! Found here on the banks of the Sacramento, even to this day. This is just the mother lode. I guess just for me though, the mother lode, it's unopened. I don't know. I think it's a trick. I think that something bad might happen if I drink it. I'm not sure. Or it's somebody else's, but I mean, what kind of fool leaves a full can of Dr. Pepper? Do they not know what they have? I'm not sure. I'll see. It's probably not worth it to figure out if I should do this or if this belongs to anyone. This is probably creating more strife in my life, as the real gold rush did, than is actually worth it. But I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna leave it here, and if I come back and it's still here, maybe it's Chandler's. Just like the gold. Just like, Marshall did. He left, he came back, the gold was still there, so he picked up some more little nuggets. This is my nugget that I found here in Sacramento. All right, I am here in front of the California Railroad Museum. This is something that I've been hyped up a lot by people I know, people I don't know, that this is the museum to go to if you're going to Sacramento. So we're about to go inside, check it out, and I'll come back and tell you what it's like. All right, so I just got out of the California Railroad Museum. I would also suggest that they maybe call it the California Mannequin Museum. Prime examples of mannequins, like so lifelike that I got scared because I wasn't expecting a person to be in there, and it wasn't a person, it was a mannequin. Probably each one has the same amount of plastic in them as your average Beverly Hills socialite. Maybe these are more lifelike even. But you'd just be turning a corner, whoop, there's another mannequin. Oh, there's one. And really great ways to get you fully immersed. It's really great and immersive. There are some of the cars that you can walk through, and they're moving as you would if you were traveling 30 to 50 miles an hour on one of these things, and they have lights going through, and sound, lots of sound that's happening to make you feel like what it may have been like if you were there. The dining car, they have all of the different chinas from the Hutchinson, Topeka company, the Union Pacific, Santa Fe, all these different railroad companies. There is a pretty intense focus on the actual construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. That was to go from San Francisco through here, across the Sierra Nevada, across Utah to Promontory Point. One of what I think was really interesting is they have a golden spike with all of the inscriptions as it appeared at Promontory Point when that last golden spike was put in 1869. Such a important thing for the union of the country, to truly make it a manifest destiny from sea to shining sea, to connect all that by rail car. And there's a heavy emphasis on that here, the actual construction of that railroad, lots of mannequins of all sorts of ethnicities working hard on that railroad, I guess perpetually, forever. They talk about the record set, 10 miles of track in one day with one crew, part Cantonese, Chinese, part Irish. I mean, those are two of the hardest working groups that there are, and they got it done. They had relief crews on standby, and they said, no, I can do it just fine. And just kept on working to get 10 miles of track in one day. Part of the immersion, they have the smells. So they have this huge locomotive. I know I'm letting down all of my crackers who love their trains, because I don't know all of the different types of locomotives, but it's big, a huge one, and they're blowing out the smell that you would smell of the burning coal. Really great. Kids loved it. Kids love trains, and kids at heart love trains. So kids were just running all around. There's one part where you can actually sit in the car as it's moving around, but then just seeing all the mannequins just running around all these humongous machines. We live in a lifetime where we don't see humongous machines like that in our everyday lives very much. It's an event when Big Boy comes to town, comes to your town, everyone gathers. I'm reminded of the Guy Clark song, Texas 1947. Here she comes, she's coming, there she goes, she's gone. It's an event, and we still have part of that in us, that we want to see these huge machines, and they're 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't know how many locomotives they have, train cars that from all over the area. They had a Nevada Silver City car that was from the 1880s, I believe, that had silver plated hinges. So just the amount of care and detail that went into making these things is truly amazing. And the fact that this museum has that all on display is great. And the way that they have brought it to life for new generations, I'm sure this has created train enthusiasts. This has created people who want to work their whole life and make trains their hobby. They have a whole third floor that's dedicated to hobby trains, and then all of that. It's truly something. Everyone was right. This is a very important place to come see if you're coming to Sacramento. What a great experience there at the Sacramento Train Museum. part of the tour that I took with Mark Twain, they talked about the layout of what we have here in Old Town Sacramento. This building here is the Eagle Theater, and they've recreated it so that you could feel the canvas on the outside, because it was made originally, I think 1850, from the sails of the schooners and clippers that came from the Pacific up Sacramento River and docked right here, because this is where the confluence of the Sacramento and the American River came together. And so their buildings, it reminded me of the theater that they built in Corpus Christi during the occupation just a few years before this, that it's made out of canvas. And there was a huge flood that came and just flooded that theater far away. Now it's an active theater. You can go over there and get improv lessons. I'm sure Mark Twain would have been great at yes-anding. Not sure if those are the kinds of shows that were there back then, but very cool that they're still using that space similarly to the way that it was. Then next to that is a wooden structure that was built 1851 or 2, made out of wood, huge glass windows. Once again, floods. The huge flood came in the 1860s, and what they had to do was take all of the brick structures that were left and raise them. This would be perfect for anyone who's civil engineering minded to find out how they rose the city with these jacks and Jenga looking towers. Come here, go on the tour. Mark Twain will tell it to you much better than I can. But really interesting to take that tour. You get to go down to the basement level of where the town used to be, and then see all the work that it took, and then all the different things that they found, all the different artifacts that show you what life was like here from the gold rush days through the Civil War through to the 1860s and 70s. So behind me there is the B.F. Hastings building. That was the terminus of the Pony Express. So this grand experiment in getting mail across the country in less than a month only ran for about 1 year, but that route terminated right here in Sacramento at the B.F. Hastings building, just down there. You actually get to explore the foundation of that building during the tour. So Mark Twain will tell you all about how they raised the B.F. Hastings building. But so cool that this huge thing in American history, the Pony Express, you're looking at where it ended. There's a Tex Ritter song about the Pony Express that's just been playing in my mind when the moment that Mark Twain told me that that building was where it all ended. Very cool. Once again, come on over to Sacramento. Behind me is the railroad station for the historic railroad. So during the weekend, you can actually book a ride on a train. Takes you up the river and back. Some of them are even premier experiences with some sort of dining included. So if you're in around the weekend, be sure to check that out. I also saw that the History Museum does Living History Days sometimes. I think they called the event Powder, Poker, and Petticoats. They actually had a pharaoh casekeeper, an authentic one in there. That was really cool. That just about wraps up this episode of Chandler's Travels. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. All that helps us in growing the channel so we can take even more of you along with me on my journeys. Until next time, vaya con Dios. I love you, California.
the greatest state of all. I love you in the winter, summer, spring, and in the fall.